Hello everyone, welcome back. Good evening. It is Monday. Finally, we've begun a new week. I mean, we technically began one Sunday. I don't know whenever you guys want to start your new week, but that's irrelevant. We have Bitcoin's current price at 87,733. You could argue that since yesterday, we've honestly not really moved too much. I looked at the price of yesterday and it's pretty much the same as where we are right now. 0% movement in 24 hours. No, but we did get some decent volatility today. We broke 89,000. We hit the high of 89,182 for Bitcoin. I don't know why we specifically stopped there, but we still got plenty of more room to continue going higher. Not too high. Don't get too optimistic. Don't get your hopes up. We are technically in a bear market. Very technically. It's up in the air at this point, in my opinion, still. I don't want to believe that we are in a bear market, but all signs are pointing towards that, but then the fundamentals tell us a different story. Or maybe it's the 4-year cycle just doesn't even matter anymore at this point. Uncertain times, and that is why we are where we are. So we're going to be discussing a lot of stuff today. Wars are continuing to happen is what seems to be the case around the globe. Trump had a phone call with Xi Jinping of China, talking about how they're still trying to invade Taiwan. And also, I don't even know if I have the article pulled up for Japan is kind of getting involved in there too. Well, China is like getting mad at Japan for saying that they would be willing to defend Taiwan, things like that, right? That was to be expected either way. I don't know why it's a big surprise, but sure, they're pretty mad about it. And then we've also got the United States, Venezuela. Maduro is doing Trump dances and posting it online. I don't know, this is not a serious world we live in or something. And then we've got Ukraine doesn't really want to end the war. They keep attacking, they keep on asking for impossible stuff, and it looks like Russia is not willing to continue with the peace plan that was proposed over the weekend that we discussed because of the changes that Ukraine is requesting, which they're non-starters to begin with. And I kind of pointed that out yesterday. I was like, this stuff that I'm seeing right here, right now, that Ukraine is modified or changed, you know, on the peace plan, it doesn't look like Russia's going to accept any of this. And I was right. So we're going to talk about that in more detail. We're not going to go read the 20 points, whatever, again. Don't worry. It's just going to be simple summaries of what they've been saying. And also, MicroStrategy, man, everybody's attacking it now. What is going on? It's the whole world versus Michael Saylor, the poor dude. Just let him buy his bitcoins and leave him alone. No, but he's getting kicked out of the indices. They think he is his company, MicroStrategy, is a fund. They no longer think it's a software company. It did lose its charm as well because we don't have that extra volatility, right? It's no different to hold MicroStrategy versus a Bitcoin ETF at this point. They trade practically the same amount. So that became an issue. And JP Morgan is just doubling down on the whole thing. So yeah, we're going to be discussing all of that too. And then just other general crypto news. So stay tuned. Let's get into it. Let me ensure that everything is fine on my end. It is. Okay, perfect. So what do we got? It looks like the start of an uptrend. We're making, in smaller time frames, higher highs, higher lows. It's looking pretty good. We have this rejection from the middle of the day, 3 o'clock candle, where price did not continue higher, and it looks like we're kind of on our way down. It looks like rejection from the buyers, right? The sellers are winning at that point, but we had a decent rise nonetheless today, so that was pretty good. Yeah, we're stuck, but 92,000 is where I'm pointing at if we are set to continue rising. We don't have big fundamentals for tomorrow. I won't be streaming tomorrow. So Wednesday I'll be back with you guys, and we will be covering, we will have some more stuff going on Wednesday. No, I think we are getting stuff on Tuesday, right? We are getting stuff on Tuesday, yeah. Wednesday is the day that we're not getting anything notable, right? Yeah. Sorry, I mixed up my day. So, yeah, tomorrow we will have important stuff, inflation data. Thursday is a holiday, Friday it's half day open. So, that's why this week is expected to be low volatility, at least for the last half of the week, right? I'm pretty sure nobody's going to be doing anything on Thursday or Friday. Friday is Black Friday, so yeah, like I said in my last stream, go buy yourself a new blender this time. So, okay, negative funding rate on Bitcoin. Love to see it. It means that there's more people shorting than there are longing in the markets. That's what it should mean. I think I could check the open interest here, can I? Let me take a look. I don't know if it's gonna tell me the right information that I'm looking at, because this doesn't specifically gather Bitcoin data from this exchange, right? This liquidity provider. So it might just accumulate everything from everywhere kind of deal. This is not what I'm looking for. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm going to find what I'm looking for. Funding rate heat map. Well, this is all just a bunch of green stuff. Oh, so we just look at Bitcoin is what I'm assuming here. Seems to be sort of in the green for a majority, but recent, here we go. As of yesterday early in the morning, we've had negative funding rates. Oh my gosh. -7%? What is this? Are you sure? I'm not sure if I believe that, but yeah, negative funding rates nonetheless, which means that yes, there's more shorts paying the longs right now. If you go long on Bitcoin at these prices, you're getting paid a funding rate, which is pretty cool. But it's not going to stay like that forever. Resets or rebalances rather, every 8 hours. So 5 more hours and 45 minutes until the next funding rate gets paid out. The funding fee gets paid out, rather. But that just means that there's more people with short positions open. And this is to kind of keep the balance in the markets, right? Meaning that there's more of a possibility that a short squeeze could happen, just maybe. Or that these shorts, the people that are shorting in the market, are right. And prices will just continue falling further. So it's up to you. I'm out of it. If I was still alive, I would still be long because, yeah, my conviction is still there. I still think we can, make our rise, make an all-time high. I don't think it's going to happen this month. I used to think it was able to happen this month, but no, not anymore. So I'm going to have to wait and see, honestly. For December, what could that even bring? Next year, people are saying it's either a recession or, I don't know, Trump finally wakes up and does something about this. Because, his sons are involved in this whole crypto project, the Bitcoin stuff and everything. He's the Bitcoin president after all. He's going to have to do something, right? Or maybe cycles are just different. Maybe we will have our super cycle. Maybe this is just a small blip in the cycle. We've seen plenty of 30% retracements during bull runs. But at this point, people are pretty underwhelmed and exhausted. So we don't really know what to make of this whole thing. And I'm part of that crew. Don't know exactly what to do next. But downtrend is still there for Bitcoin. Keep that in mind. Which means even though it looks like we're having a good recovery right here, things could just turn around. If not here, that you don't even have to wait for 92,000, right? But 92,000, that's where I would expect a bounce downward. A rebound, rather. And we should continue with our downtrend. Kind of like that. Because we are still in one, technically speaking. What we need for me to change my mind is breaking out of the 92,270. This line right over here. Right? We close a candle above this. This should flip the super trend down. Something like that. And we should be in the green from here on out. Even if we retrace because of us being overbought, we would make our higher low and then continue higher from here as the super trend would follow whatever the price is, and we would draw our new uptrend sort of like that so that we could continue higher. I hope this drawing makes sense. But yeah, it's kind of my vision right now. For the time being, things should still continue going lower. I know you guys probably hate to see that, but in my technical analysis, weekly chart supports this, 4-hour chart supports this. In smaller time frames, it looks like we can still continue higher, in my opinion. And wouldn't surprise me if we get decent inflation data tomorrow. The inflation data that we should expect would be that we should want to expect should be that inflation comes in lower than expected, right? So PPI data, let me pull this up again. Nope. So we're expecting a change in the month of September of an increase in the inflation. So this is already priced in, right? We're expecting inflation to have increased by 0.3% for producers, right? If it's a negative number or if it's anything less than 0.3%, markets should have a decent rally. If it is exactly at 0.3%, not much will happen. But if the number comes in higher, if we are getting higher than expected inflation, the Fed is not going to want to cut rates. It's going to reduce the odds of flashbang warning. The interest rate cut probabilities that we are to expect for December, we should see an increase in the percentage of us maintaining rates where they are. This is looking really good for now. We're already at 81% chance that we will see a rate cut for December, but this number can easily change with tomorrow's data because we're so sensitive to economic data after the government shutdown. We did not receive anything throughout that whole period. We've been going in this whole thing blind. Seems like we're going to go into this December one blind. So any little bit of information that we will get, it's going to be so crucial because people are just going to be like, okay, we're going to have to guess what the rest of the data is technically looking like. And this is data from September, by the way. This is how delayed we are. We should be receiving by now. We should have already received data for the previous month, October, because we are in November right now. December 10 is coming up soon. It seems like October data is either not coming out or getting delayed. I do have some more news on that too. And the data that's coming out for, did I say that right? October data is not coming out, right? And then the one that's in November, when December time comes around, we should be getting November's data. It seems like that is probably going to get delayed until after. Conveniently, it's going to be delayed after the FOMC meeting on December 10. They're coming out like December, I don't know, give me a random date, 12, 17, stuff like that. After December 10. So yeah, we're practically going into it blind. Any little bit of data that we get, it's going to be crucial. Reason why this did climb up is because we did get the non-farm payroll data for September. The jobs, we added a plenty amount of jobs, but unemployment also surged, and we're basing our odds of the movement from the unemployment data. The fact that there's less people like employed, we want the Fed, or we know that the Fed will want to focus on fixing the jobs market first before inflation. They'll think job market more important than inflation for the time being. So that's why what we're getting tomorrow with inflation should be important to see what happens next. Yeah, this is producer price index. Okay. So that's what you should expect for tomorrow. Like I said, I won't be here to cover it live, but I'll be back the day after and we'll see. We'll have a look at what happened. Wednesday should be a bit more relaxed. Maybe, hopefully, I don't know. Maybe people are getting the last trades in before Thanksgiving, or maybe people just want to leave early. Thanksgiving, we shouldn't expect too much of a movement. We should expect this kind of movement that we see on Saturdays, right? This is 22nd of November. Actually, we did have a good rise. Which day was September? Saturday. What am I talking about? 22nd. Yeah, I was right. Okay, so that's the data. I mean, that's the kind of movement that we should expect for something like Thursday. Maybe. It's only American markets that are closed. It's only United States Thanksgiving. In Canada, we already had ours in October because we just wanted to say thank you much earlier. And rest of the world will still do their normal thing. It's just a regular Thursday for Europe, for Asia, so it should be fine. Okay, I talked a little too much about Bitcoin, but that's fine. You guys are here for that. Ethereum is up 2%, 2,919. Love it. We're very close to the 4,000 mark. Kind of bounced off of, you know, same kind of price action that we saw here with this kind of candlestick of rejection. Positive funding rates still, so no flip in no flip in the sentiment, market sentiment, whether or not longs are paying shorts, more people are shorting the market, right? So no change there. And highest price today, 2,983. Seems like I might get saved, hard might, on these altcoins. I got a bonus money here, so that's me trying to short Hyperliquid. I was making $5, and then everything just flipped up. So, I mean, that's fine. It's just, don't care. Bonus position. Yeah, good for Ethereum. Since I was talking about Hyperliquid, might as well point to it. This is not a real position, by the way. It's just the bonus, like I said. But decent rise today for Hyperliquid, recovering majority of what was lost over here, although I would want to see it above 37 once again. Would be optimal. Current price is $33.11. We hit a high today of 34.63 after being, you know, as low as 30, and we did a really good bounce over here from the weekly trend, right? So we're still technically in a bullish weekly trend as long as we don't close below 31. So last week we got saved, and looks like we're trying to go on our way up, although there is a steep decline in recent time frames, right? You go to like the 4-hour time frame, we are still in a downtrend. So it's still in a danger zone, in my opinion. That's why I would love to see it 37 or above. I do not currently have any position open on Hyperliquid with real money. This is real money, but this is bonus position. You just keep anything that you make profit off of, which is annoying. They should just give me the $100 and I decide what I want to do with it, and don't time me with the 24 hours because there's not much that I could make with that. So forget it. Moving on to Solana, $137.61. I like this. We're up 3% today. Resistance is at 143. You could round that to maybe 145. I don't know. That's where we could see, you know, prices becoming a bit overbought and a rebound from this area. If we are able to break through it, it will flip our trend to the green side, but I would expect us to genuinely slow down at about 155. It would converge with this downtrend line, which would probably be like the last test. That's why, you know what, I'm more willing to believe this bounce will happen instead of this, because we would overextend our overbought level, right, on the RSI, the momentum chart. And I feel like we might want to test this area a couple of times first before actually having our breakout. So, you know, however low that we go and however long it takes for us to recover, I would expect, you know, this downtrend line to the super trend, right, to converge with this downtrend line. That's just me being picky about it and maybe being realistic. I don't know. Will we continue ranging until the 5th of December? Could be, but I don't know. Maybe we do just overextend it and bounce from here. It would be a good start, right? Because we would have the super trend on our side as soon as price breaks through this resistance. I gotta like make my circles better, and then it could take us to this area over here, and maybe, I don't know, maybe trend is strong enough and it'll push us higher. I don't really think that would happen. We're gonna have to retrace somewhere. What would our closer downtrend look like? Let me go draw a new downtrend line like this. Because this has to kind of match with something. I feel like this is what we're trying to test right now. This one makes a bit more sense. And then we could converge with this downtrend line over here. But we would have the super trend in our favor, like I said. So, you know, wherever it is that we bounce, we should expect to see, you know, higher lows, higher highs from here on out as super trend kind of follows this forward. A lot of drawing, I know, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. And I would also avoid liquidation, so I wouldn't mind it at all. Moving on. Bit tensor. Bouncing from the 300 toward the downside. No good. 288's the current price. Still technically in a downtrend. Just going to slightly adjust that. And we're really just going to have to wait. 322 is where the downtrend invalidates. No big changes here. Support is at 260, where our local bottom is at from the 21st of November. Are these new lows? I think they were. Ignoring October 10. Yeah, that is crazy. These are new lows. Okay. I mean, that was the lowest point at 260, which we have not hit again yet in recent days. We're at 288 though, so we are still on a downtrend. Wouldn't surprise me if that does play out indeed. And we wouldn't even be oversold at that level, so you could expect it to just break pretty easily. We should make a lower low is ideally what should happen. Not ideally, but in theory, that's what should happen. And my position will get taken out with it. Pretty volatile coin, so we'll see what happens. Sui, huge rise today, finally. I was shaming it for not moving at all yesterday, but it seems like today the sleeping giant awoke. And look at this. Look at this price action over here. Clear rejection at this level. I posted this on the Discord that Sui was on the rise today. It was up like, what was this candle, like 12%? 15 in total. It was pretty cool. And I said maybe around 260 is where we could see some resistance. I think I said it yesterday too on my stream. But I was expecting Sui to rise up to here. Would make us overbought, right? But ultimately I wasn't sure if we would be able to break out of the downtrend line. Seems like even with what we're getting right now, we will not be breaking out of the downtrend line. So I don't know. I don't expect it to go much lower either. This is me just truly trying to think as to what can happen here. I still think it can continue rising to 260 before we see the actual rebound toward the downside. But this pump was well deserved, I will admit that, because Sui, it seems like it's been continuously oversold with no signs of recovery. This seems to give us a little glimmer of hope, the fact that we are so close to invalidating the downtrend. So that's why I wanted to close at least at above the 158 level. Did I say 260 before? 160 is what I mean. I'm so used to Sui costing $2 that the fact that it's all the way down here, I still don't believe it. Chainlink, 0% movement today. $12.88. No big changes here. Downtrend invalidates at 13.75. I want to see it above 14 and then we can talk. Moving on to Aptos. Now Aptos seems to be the one that's lagging behind here and making newer and newer lows. This low was from today, 7 a.m. at 223 was that price. The current price is 231. The only movement it had today was like during good hours, about a 4% movement. Even still wasn't enough to like make a higher high or a higher low or anything like that. And it's looking like it's still on the way down. Downtrend is still a thing. I did like the uptrend that we kind of got over here, but this was just a spontaneous bounce that eventually ended up decaying and heading lower. So don't like what I'm seeing with Aptos. I've done my my update on a potential target if like all season does kick back in. It's not going to go higher than $10 or $8 around that point. But even still, I was like, if that same amount of money, that same amount of market cap enters into this, you know, this asset, it could rise to those levels. But like seeing it where it was before at $20, $12, whatever it was, not likely anymore due to its inflationary nature, and it's been pretty high. But these oversold levels did provide a decent opportunity. We could see a dead cat bounce soon, and downtrend ultimately would invalidate at around 260. This is 260, not 160 like I was thinking with Sui. But anyway, Sui Aptos, similar deal. So the fact that Sui made this huge rise first. Okay, well first we're going to need Solana to make big moves. Then it will translate into Sui making big moves, and then maybe, almost said Sonic, Aptos. And then, yeah, okay, since I name dropped Sonic, sure, maybe Sonic will eventually do its thing. Did it even move at all today? Surely some green. It was terribly oversold. Yeah, it's not much, is it? What is EOS energy? That has nothing to do with Sonic. Okay. Crazy AI. What else was on the big rise today? I didn't really look at the rest or anything too notable. Let me find the RSI heat map. See if anything became overbought today. Any profit taking on XRP? Okay, interesting. XRP, we had Grayscale ETF come out for it today, along with a Dogecoin ETF. So there's that. Bananas, the worst meme. Home, esports. Yeah, these are nothing. And nothing's really oversold either, so the whole market in general had a decent day today. XRP being the most notable, so let's go have a look at that. It's only a 6% rise. What is so important about this? I see. We broke the downtrend. Okay. This is the kind of movement that I was hoping to see, at least from Sui, right? We were really close to the super trend line, right? If we did reach the 160 level, like I said, and closed above it, it would have flipped the trend like this. Same deal with Solana, I think. Yeah, Solana could have risen to above 145. It had the room to do it, but it just... not enough momentum is what it seems like. Can I go back to XRP? I do want to do... I hate this thing flipping around every time. Stop it. Give me USD. I think I'm going to go back to USDT, honestly. It's easier for trading if I do it on standard futures. The fees are not that high, or they're still high fees. In my opinion, all fees are high. I don't want to pay fees, but it's easier to manage. The dollar amounts are more exact, and yeah, the maker-taker fees are a bit less. Here on perpetual futures, you do pay a bit more, but I mean, the only reason I do use it, the perpetual futures, is because it kind of combines everything into one, and I could like DCA this thing. But if I'm just doing like a simple trade, enter and exit, kind of like a scalp, I don't know, maybe like a swing trade, it's going to take a couple of days is kind of what I'm estimating. I've been looking into strategies, by the way. That then it would work better in the standard futures account, so I might do it that way instead. And it separates each trade differently. Obviously entering with a take profit and a stop loss, that kind of deal. So I'll be doing more of those in the future as soon as I like figure something out in terms of the funds, and as well as figure some strategy that will genuinely work. I have to do a lot of back testing, that kind of stuff. So that is the plan. What do we got here? So 366 was our all-time high. Right, all my stuff got erased. So thank you for erasing all my hard work. That's fine. We can reanalyze this. It's not a big deal. Let me go from here. Did I just move that? Okay. And then I think this is the more important one that I'm about to draw here. Yeah, early signs of us breaking this downtrend. And now we essentially have this new uptrend generated for XRP, which means, in theory, we should start seeing higher lows, higher highs. Don't be surprised if we see a retracement even below $2 again. We would still be in an uptrend as long as, of course, we don't break our final support at 180, basically. We should be safe, right? A bounce like this should happen, and then we can continue higher, hopefully. Not exactly played out like this, but yeah. Because super trend would be in our favor, and all we would have to do is just readjust the uptrend line like that, and then continue going higher, hopefully. We'll see. There you go. For all those people who love XRP, 7% up today. 223 is the current price. I like that. 228 was our high. After being at around $2.06, we were on the rise. I'm losing the race, by the way. I challenged XRP versus SUI. Man, SUI is just becoming way too oversold. 152. 152 the current price of SUI versus XRP being at 223. Seems like XRP is in the lead. They were both at the same price when I called for a race, so XRP is in the lead. The money is going toward XRP and not SUI. But when it does go to SUI, I think it will easily outpace XRP. Bookmark this. We'll see. I'm still betting on SUI. As much damage as it has done to me, I'm still willing to bet on it. Okay. Still on our way down for Bitcoin. Perfect. Let's go ahead and get into our news. Like I said, we do have a lot to talk about. So let's get into it. Xi Jinping, Donald Trump, they had a phone call today. This was reported by Xinhua. The topic of discussion was unclear, and the readout did not provide any additional details. We got additional details after, don't worry. During the phone call between Xi Jinping and Donald Trump, the issue of Taiwan was raised. Xi Jinping said, Taiwan's return to China is an important part of the post-war international order. Wow, why do you care so much? But, yeah. Taiwan's return to China is not negotiable. It's part of the post-World War II order, is what he said, Xi Jinping. His message was that China and the US once fought fascism together, so maybe they should team up again to protect the outcomes of World War II. What, do they think Taiwanese people are fascist, or what's going on here? Meanwhile, Taiwan's government is reading this like, yeah, absolutely not. And Japan? Japan's another issue. Already signaling it could respond militarily if China attacks Taiwan, which Beijing is now calling a diplomatic crisis because Tokyo said the quiet part out loud. Yeah, big issue. Xi tried to sweeten the call by bragging that US-China ties have stabilized since Trump eased tariffs and Beijing restarted soybean shopping. So why don't we have an October 10 style pump instead of an October 10 style crash? Huh? What's going on there? This line about Taiwan is the real headline, though. This wasn't a request. It was Xi testing how far Trump would bend before the real Taiwan showdown begins. Interesting. It's like poking at the bear over here. What's Trump gonna say about this whole deal with China and with Taiwan, right? There's also this that came out, Chinese Foreign Ministry saying that if Japan intervenes militarily in the Taiwan Strait situation, China will strike back decisively, and warns Japan not to play with fire on the Taiwan question, for those who play with fire will perish by it. Ooh, you're getting awfully poetic here. So I don't know, man. This could also escalate into a world war. It's been known for a long time now that China wants to invade Taiwan. They've circled their boats and troops and ships and planes around the island multiple times, military exercises. It's a common thing. But Taiwan's always prepared, and they know that the United States will defend them because they manufacture semiconductors for the United States. Otherwise, our poor little NVIDIA will crash, and we don't want that. I think the real loser would be Taiwan Semiconductors themselves. The whole fact that Trump is allowing Taiwan Semiconductors to still be there, it's like a security guarantee that Taiwan has, right? Because with the tariffs that Trump has been imposing, and I've talked about this before, if those countries start, moving to the United States and start manufacturing in the United States, building jobs there, building their companies there, they leave Taiwan to go to the United States, there's no reason for United States to defend Taiwan anymore because Taiwan Semiconductors is now in America Semiconductors or whatever, if they decide to even rebrand. So Taiwan obviously does not want to lose that security guarantee. They need the United States to defend them against China if an attack occurs. But Now now Japan, like I said, they said the quiet part out loud, and it seems like, obviously, China did not like that. So, they're still floating the idea around and also warning Japan, hey, if you get involved, that's an issue. What else we got? Trump spoke with Xi Jinping also about the range of issues, including Ukraine-Russia war and the Taiwan becoming part of China. The Chinese saying in their readout of the call that it's very important that the United States gets on board with Taiwan reintegrating to become part of China, something obviously nobody in the US government is on board with. Like I said, odd request, but there you go. He wrote also on Truth Social, he announced that he will visit Beijing in April to meet with President Xi Jinping, and the Chinese president will make a state visit to the United States later in 2026. So all this talk, it's practically getting confirmed that they will be visiting each other by next year. Trump wrote on Truth Social, I just had a very good telephone call with President Xi of China. We discussed many topics, including Ukraine, Russia, fentanyl, soybeans, and other farm products, etc. We have done a good and very important deal for our great farmers, and it will only get better. Our relationship with China is extremely strong. This call was a follow-up to our highly successful meeting in South Korea 3 weeks ago. I love that person running across the screen. Since then, there has been significant progress on both sides in keeping our agreements current and accurate, which is good. Now we can set our sights on the big picture. To that end, President Xi invited me to visit Beijing in April, which I accepted, and I reciprocated where he will be my guest for a state visit in the United States later in the year. We agreed that it is important that we communicate often, which I look forward to doing. Thank you for your attention, matter. Okay, good. China also said that they maintained positive momentum after his call with President Trump this morning. China also adds that they should expand their list of cooperation, and this also comes just minutes after news emerged that Trump is considering allowing NVIDIA to sell advanced AI chips to China. I was talking about this with a friend of mine too, the fact that NVIDIA is so big, and the fact that they're not even selling their chips to China. Like, China has to go through a black market to obtain NVIDIA chips illegally. That was how, DeepSeek was created, and that's why we had a huge crash earlier in this year, once DeepSeek was made by a team of 10 people with outdated GPUs and stuff like that, and it became, DeepSeek was more powerful than OpenAI, a multi-billion-dollar company with thousands of employees. That spooked the markets, the fact that China was going to win the AI race, and we had a huge crash about it earlier in this year. It was on a Friday, I remember that. So, opening up the markets to China now, NVIDIA is just going to increase their revenue. Their earnings are going to be better. Even, every time we look at NVIDIA's earnings that are coming up, just look at what happened last week, right? Everybody was like, dude, the whole market depends on NVIDIA's earnings performing well. And it performed well, despite all odds pointing against them. The whole talk of the AI bubble, the whole spook about that, big companies, hedge fund managers shorting those big tech companies, Palantir, NVIDIA, stuff like that. Against all odds, they overcome and perform better than expected. So if this is to be happening, first of all, I don't think that I don't think Trump will allow NVIDIA to sell the most advanced AI chips to China. They're going to give them you can sell some of the older versions, but keep the newer versions for us here in America, because we want to be the number one when it comes to the AI race. There's all these different little battles going on, just side battles. One day it's the arms race, who can make the most nukes. Next day it's the AI race, who can make the best AI. I still think DeepSeek is honestly better. Have you seen the, Alpha Arena? DeepSeek AI outperformed every other AI. Was it DeepSeek or was it Qwen, the Alibaba one? I think it was DeepSeek. I think it was. Compared to ChatGPT, who performed the worst when it came to trading. So, yeah. They're pretty good with it. And, we're literally importing Chinese people to work in America to make the better AI, right? So it's clear that China has the talent, and we better not give them too many good tools, otherwise they'll be better than us, and that's not what the United States would want. So that's kind of what I think about it. Let's move on. Unless there's more to talk about here. No, okay, moving on. Oh, and I forgot to mention, the last battle, the more important one of them all, is the crypto race. Who can buy the most crypto? There was kind of already a bit of fighting going on over it, you know? There was some seized assets from a Chinese person that the US government ended up taking. Now we have 300 something, I think it's 330,000 Bitcoins, because we took like 90,000 from the guy, something like that. And China was like, no, that belongs to us. And we're like, no, it's ours now. We have 300,000 Bitcoins. You guys have 200,000 Bitcoins. What are you going to do about it? Buy more? China's buying a lot of gold. I don't know if you guys noticed that. Maybe they changed their yuan to be gold backed, the way the US dollar once used to be. Maybe. I don't know whether or not that's possible, but I've heard talks about that too. Okay, moving on to a bigger war, Russia-Ukraine. The last update that we got from it was, okay, the whole story behind it. Behind the war, but the ceasefires. The United States and Russia propose a 28-point peace plan to Ukraine, saying, hey, follow all these points and we'll end the war. Okay? Ukraine and Europe, they have a look at it. They're like, I don't like this point. I don't like that point. Remove that. We're changing it to 24 points from 28. And we want these parts changed instead so that it benefits us instead. And by the way, yes, Ukraine can join NATO. And by the way, forget the lines that were taken as of now. We want to keep everything that we lost. And obviously Russia is what I was thinking is going to say, yeah, well, you just ruined the whole 28-point peace plan, and now it's just, what's in it for us, right? No, it's not worth it. We're not going to sign this peace deal. And it played out just like that. Zelensky says that as of now, after Geneva meeting in Switzerland, there are a few points, no longer 28, and much of what is correct has already been taken into account in this framework. There is still work for all of us to do. It is very difficult to produce the final document. Yeah, because you keep dodging. So the Kremlin in Russia responded to Europe, thanks for the peace plan, we don't like it. Moscow just dismissed Europe's counter-proposal to Trump's 28-point Ukraine peace plan, calling it completely unconstructive, meaning that Europe didn't hand over the territory, NATO veto, and timeline control Russia wants. So the Kremlin basically flipped the table. Kremlin being like the... What is the Kremlin? Isn't that like the CIA for... No, it's capital. It's like saying the White House, I guess. Center of the country's capital city. Okay, that's what it is. Yeah, it's basically like saying the White House equivalent of Russia. Here's the real tell. Kremlin aide Yuri Ushakov basically admitted that the US plan works for Russia, at least in many provisions. Europe's version, not so much. That's the geopolitical split in one headline. Washington floats compromises Kyiv hates. Europe digs its heels in, and Moscow plays them against each other. Meanwhile, Putin is doing his usual mob boss routine. He says the US proposal could be a foundation for peace, but if Ukraine refuses, Russia will advance further. Classic nice try you got there. Nice country you got there. Shame if anything happened to it. Okay. Expect Moscow to milk the divide, praising the US plan just enough to pressure Europe and Kyiv while hinting at escalation. And I think that's kind of what we're about to get here. Kremlin smells leverage, and leverage means one thing. They're not done pushing. Okay. This is real, by the way. Europe's fabricating drone threats to drag US back into the Ukraine war. Well, it's happening. The Russians are desperately trying to defend the port of Novorossiysk against a major Ukrainian drone swarm attack. What is even happening here, dude? Yeah, well, this is literally footage from very recently. despite these peace plans being put in place, or proposed rather, they're still going at it. They're still attacking each other. Zelensky is provoking Russia, hoping for a major response that would give him an excuse not to sign Trump's peace agreement by Thursday. That is the deadline that was set. There is Galenchik, Sochi, Tuapse, Novorossiysk, okay, I don't know how to pronounce these, and Taganrog under heavy attack right now. Crazy. So, they're still going at it. What's going on in the south? Well, the Caribbean. Fox News is now reporting that Trump will not attack Venezuela because of the drug trade, but because of Russia, China, and Iran, because Venezuela has close ties with those countries, and he doesn't want that kind of influence in the American continent, even if it includes South America. So he's kind of using the cartels as an excuse to go to war with Venezuela, topple the Maduro regime, and implement somebody that's more in favor of Western values, is what I'm assuming is going on here. U.S. officials told Fox News that the Caribbean military buildup goes beyond targeting Maduro or Venezuela. It's about getting Russia, China, and Iran out of the Western Hemisphere. And we know that they've been loading up with boats. It's been happening for the past couple of days. It's just that nothing really happened, so I didn't really bring it up during the streams. But now it's we got this new development from here. Trump has also been talking about, telling his advisors that he's planning to speak directly with Nicolas Maduro, even as the United States designated the Venezuela president Monday as the head of a terrorist organization's Axios reports, citing administration officials. That is true. They did classify Maduro as the leader of one of the cartels, and that's basically waging war against them, because he did classify all cartels as terrorist organizations because they're bringing fentanyl into the United States. But now we know the real reason. It's probably just to get Russia, China, Iran influence out of the Western Hemisphere. Well, Maduro is he's losing it, man. The man dropped a clip, kicking off with some awkward dancing and a flashy jacket and Christmas decor. He moves like a well-fed boa, trying to climb a tree and failing, all while listening to a song remixed version of his own voice. Here's the dance move. Basically copying Trump's YMCA dance move, I think, or something. What is he doing? Maduro seems to be hyping Venezuela's vibes, but the whole thing screams unhinged, especially with Trump breathing down on his regime. Is Maduro channeling his inner Joker to dodge accountability? It looks like he's pulling the classic "too crazy to go to prison" play. Dance your way out of indictments. I don't know, man. Retired Venezuelan generals also tell Maduro it's time to leave. Please save us. And Maduro also tells the people, he's like, in the United States, please listen to me. No, war no, never war. He said it in English too, I think. Dialogue, yes. Peace, yes. Respect, yes. War, listen to me. War, no. Never, never war. I'm getting a phone call. Should I answer it? Hello? Hello? Yeah, it's a scam call, as per usual. I thought it was a job interview or something, man. I'm never gonna get a job. It's fine. So... oh, this is another thing that happened today. There was a huge news about Trump is going to announce something at 4 p.m. Is he going to announce how he's going to buy more bitcoins to the strategic reserve? No. It's never going to happen. We need, what is Cynthia Lummis doing? She has to get this over with. Or, you know, get it going, rather. Whatever. What happened today is that Trump signed an executive order directing Secretary Rubio to classify the Muslim Brotherhood as a foreign terrorist organization. Finally, Trump's order also prohibits financial transactions with them, so much of their funding will likely dry up. The Muslim Brotherhood, I think, is... here it explains in more detail. Way too much detail, rather. So it's there if you want to read it. I don't think I'm going to read all of this, but... they were founded in Egypt in 1928, developed a transnational network with chapters across the Middle East and beyond, Lebanon, Jordan, Egypt, They support violence and destabilization campaigns that harm their own regions, United States citizens, and United States interests. For example, the aftermath of October 7 attack in Israel, the military wing of the Lebanese chapter of the Muslim Brotherhood joined Hamas, Hezbollah, and Palestinian factions to launch multiple rocket attacks against both civilian and military targets within Israel. So that's what it seems to be doing. Okay. And there's the rest of it. I'm not going to read all this, but it's there. Seems like we're just waging wars on everyone. The president of no new wars. I knew it was bad news when we rebranded the Department of Defense to the Department of War. But yeah. Okay, so there's that. Also issues within the Trump administration could be happening, but Trump is trying to, it seems like, replace the people with other people that are better. Susie Wiles, reportedly on the hot seat, she might get fired soon, as Trump's chief of staff, with changes in January up in the air. Admin staffers, powerful Trump donors, consultants, and the MAGA base have singled out Wiles for siloing Trump away from his supporters, causing displeasure. She might get replaced soon, is basically what that means. Senior White House aides and the cabinet heads are bracing for major personnel shakeup, as President Trump is growing increasingly unhappy with economic messaging, per Paul Sperry. There was also, I don't know if you guys saw this clip, where Trump was like, oh, that Scott Bessent guy, I might fire him, you better fix this economy. But Scott Bessent, he is making promises saying that, oh, GDP is going to be crazy good in 2026. You guys just wait. And I've talked a lot about what he's been saying for the future of the economy. Let's just hope that it's real. It doesn't look good right now. U.S. third quarter advanced estimate GDP report is to be canceled. We're not getting our GDP numbers for this third quarter. More economic data is just getting hidden, and it seems like we're blaming it on the shutdown. None of this looks good, by the way. You can, in my opinion, I think you can release the economic data, and you're just choosing to hide it because maybe the numbers are not ideal. I don't know if it's not ideal for the economy or not ideal for us to get a rate cut. I don't know which version of 5D chess this man is playing. But yeah, we're blaming the shutdown for all of that. Nothing says booming economy like canceling the GDP report. If it were good, they wouldn't hide it, which is true. Fun fact, this is the first time in history that both the jobs report and GDP report have been canceled at the same time. So people are becoming more skeptical as to what's truly happening behind the scenes. Does not look good. It's the same deal with, before I move on, same deal with what we had with Epstein, right? Trump was like, no, don't release the Epstein files. It's a Democrat hoax. La, la, la. It's like, dude, just release it. If it's the Democrats that are in there anyway, right? So why are you hiding it so much? Are you involved with Epstein or not? What's really going on? He's like, no, don't talk about it. There is no Epstein files. The guy killed himself, and that is it. Case closed. We're gonna bury this. It's like, no, dude, just you were transparent about JFK, about MLK. Release Epstein files. Why not? Until, like, it takes people... How do I even explain it? Marjorie Taylor Greene leaving, that kind of stuff, for eventually the Epstein files to be released by Trump. He said only does it 180. He's like, you know what? Fine, release it. But it's the Democrats that are in there anyway. So now we're waiting for Pam Bondi to release them. They have 30 days to get it out to us. And who knows if we're even getting the full cake. I don't know. All the goodies. Maybe they're removing Trump's name from all the Epstein files as we speak. Who knows? Less than 2 days after coming back from South Africa, our beloved Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, is reportedly planning a trip to Washington, D.C. next week. Again, this comes after, I read about this too, by the way, that Mark Carney he didn't really respond to when Trump threatened more tariffs on Canada. I think this had to do with the drama with the Ronald Reagan ad that came out. He threatened more tariffs, but they never actually went into effect, and there was something signed in Congress that didn't allow them to go into effect, and Canada and the US have not really spoken ever since. So now, seems like the guy's going over there. Probably another nothing burger as the last two meetings went. Here locally, even more locally in Ontario, Doug Ford tells a heckler at one of his speeches to find a job as protests erupt over Ontario's law critics, saying that will speed up evictions. What? Okay. Yeah, we're trying. I'm trying to find a job, Doug Ford. Whatever, man. The guy's liberal disguised as conservative, in my opinion. He's kind of betrayed our whole party, is what I feel like. I don't even know if I should go through this whole thread, but it's basically exposing Charles Hoskinson, Cardano. Is Cardano genuinely that good? Charles Hoskinson posted this. By the way, Cardano had a recent bug, a recent exploit. Something wrong with the security issue on their blockchain for Cardano, but it got resolved already, I think. It was just a minor issue. But yeah, he talks about here, should I do a video on how the world financial system actually works and how we are all debt slaves? Somebody replies saying, I'd rather listen to an economist for that. I don't get plumbing advice from an electrician. Basically saying that Charles Hoskinson is not an economist. Charles replies, he bites. He's like, do you know what I do for a living? I literally make decentralized central banks and rebuild Wall Street on a blockchain. Okay, crazy. Somebody else replies, maybe I'm misunderstanding, but but surely you need more transactions on your network to make a comparison with Wall Street's. Right? Because Wall Street is something huge. He's claiming he built Wall Street on blockchain, but nobody uses Cardano, my guy. If you purely mean the architecture or system, is that unique or pioneered with Cardano? Not a hater, just curious. What do you mean by that claim? Ignore if I'm stupid. Charles says, well, I've built 4 blockchains. Somebody else replies, what are the 4 blockchains that Charles Hoskinson built? Grok replied, he made BitShares, Ethereum, as a co-founder, Cardano through IOHK, and Midnight. It's a privacy-focused chain in the Cardano ecosystem. Basically, your Zcash, your Monero, your Dash, but on Cardano. Which nobody uses, by the way, because we asked, what are the prices from all-time high, and should investors be grateful or angry when looking at these charts? Here's an approximation. Here's approximate data as of today. So BitShares is 99.9% down from its all-time high, basically rug pulled. Ethereum is the only survivor because it's Ethereum. It was co-founded by Charles Hoskinson. Its true founder is Vitalik Buterin. Cardano itself is down 86%, and the last blockchain, Midnight, is down 99%. Investor reactions depend on timing, goals, and market trends. Ethereum has seen strong gains overall while others lag. Why was he kicked out of Ethereum? Charles Hoskinson, as an Ethereum co-founder, left in 2014 due to disagreements over the project's direction. He favored a for-profit model with VC funding, while Vitalik Buterin and others preferred a non-profit foundation. Some accounts describe it as him being ousted for interpersonal conflicts, but Hoskinson said it was a mutual parting to pursue different visions. Okay. And what happened to Ethereum as a result? It became the second largest currency after Bitcoin, which is true. Cardano was meant to be a competitor to Ethereum. Originally, that is why Charles Hoskinson left and built it. But it's not performing that well, is it? It did in the previous cycle, but this time around, we're struggling to even touch $1. Even if we do, we immediately crash below it immediately. So, Ethereum did thrive post-2014, becoming the crypto market cap, the second biggest one as of today, with innovations like smart contracts driving its growth. Hoskinson's departure allowed divergent paths. Cardano later emerged as a competitor. Success stories in crypto often stem from forks in vision. So Charles is quite successful. If you were forced to quantify how much more successful, okay, whatever. I think that's it. Cool little history as to what's really going on with Cardano here. I know it kind of crazy derailing of topics, or yeah, right? We were talking about, should I make a video, guys? Until like, hey, you suck and your blockchains suck. Which is true, I guess. We have more FUD. Let's talk about it. JP Morgan and MicroStrategy. The biggest manipulator for crypto is what JP Morgan is what they're saying. They shorted MicroStrategy and started to spread FUD on Bitcoin. The same old tricks, bigger damage. Even Elon Musk has said, you can't sell houses you don't own, you can't sell cars you don't own, but you can sell stock you don't own. That's BS. Shorting is a scam. Okay, I don't know about that. Shorting is useful. You can make money both ways, and I like it. But if you're shorting out of malice, preying on a company's downfall or an asset's downfall without a good reason, yeah, you deserve to get squeezed in the opposite direction. A rumor's been going on that, well, it's basically confirmed now. JP Morgan has a huge short position on MicroStrategy. This is why they are FUDing against Bitcoin and Strategy to profit hundreds of millions of dollars. Easy money, right? You short the stock and you start spreading bad news about it. We're basically around the end of the cycle, so they have that in their favor. So they should be making some good money right now. But in retaliation, because now it's this JP Morgan bank versus the Bitcoiners, people have started to close their JP Morgan bank accounts. Also, several players are thinking of a GME type short squeeze from MicroStrategy stock. GME type short squeeze, if you're not aware, is basically what happened with GameStop earlier in the past couple of years. I think in 2021, led by Roaring Kitty on Reddit. Himself and a lot of other investors, retail investors, were like, hey, why are they attacking GameStop like this? The GameStop stock is very pushed down by these hedge fund managers. As a big FU to the institutional investors, we're all going to, at this day, at this hour, at this second, buy the heck out of this stock, causing a huge short squeeze, and we're all going to get rich out of these, banks' downfall, right? And they did just that, and it happened twice. So even Andrew Tate got in the action on the second time. It was pretty big, and they're talking about doing the same thing with maybe MicroStrategy if these big institutions do indeed start piling on with shorts on MicroStrategy. I think it's a matter of time. But I don't think it's going to happen from today till tomorrow. They're going to really need to short it. Bitcoin will need to continue lower. And then, it would be a good opportunity to get involved with it. I don't know where these people would be talking about this insider trade movement. But hey, I would like to be a part of it with my whopping $0 that I have. So that's basically what's been going on. TradFi attacking MicroStrategy. We talked about the MSCI considering removing Saylor's strategy and other firms holding 50% plus of their assets in crypto from its indices. So any one of Michael Saylor's companies, if half of their company is in Bitcoin or any other crypto, you're getting kicked out of the indices, which happen to be the NASDAQ and the Russell indices, US markets, which means that it would trigger a lot of forced selling. And that's going to happen by January 15, 16, or January 9. Which day is it? Did I write it down? Might have written it down. Yeah, MicroStrategy leaves MSCI indices on January 15, 2026. They're saying it's gonna trigger like an $11 billion loss in the stock, because they're basically thinking MicroStrategy at this point, you're just being a fund. You're not really a company. You're not really a stock. Having this as crypto as your treasury, it's not going to work like that. Like, you might as well become an ETF, and then you just be the same as BlackRock or Grayscale or whatever. So that was the reasoning behind their decision. JP Morgan warns that funds may be forced to sell strategy shares, which is also worth $2.8 billion. That's no good. And on top of that, they're debanking accounts of crypto people, right? They debanked the accounts of the CEO of the Strike crypto exchange. I've never heard of Strike crypto exchange. It's real. Is this owned by Michael Saylor? I don't think it is. I think there's a... No, it is real. Because I'm thinking of the stock, Strike, which is owned also by Michael Saylor, but I don't think that it's an exchange. It might be something different. I'm typing here, Michael Saylor, CEO of Strike Crypto Exchange. Wait. If they've debanked the accounts of the CEO of the Strike Crypto Exchange, and I think that is Michael Saylor, then they debanked Michael Saylor. What company is Michael Saylor? Strategy. What about Strike? Okay. CEO of Strike. It's Jack Malders. And there you go. Says JP Morgan closes accounts without warning. So that was another cause of huge FUD going on. And having people, crypto bros, turning against JP Morgan. This is another war that's going on in the crypto space. So there's that. So it's not Michael Saylor. Sorry about that confusion. JP Morgan versus strategy and Bitcoiners. It's officially the hottest drama on crypto Twitter. The stakes? Serious allegations. Billions on the line. Community mobilizing to boycott JPM. I pulled together everything circulating in crypto Twitter so far. Here's a full breakdown thread as to what is happening. It all started when sudden Bitcoin and MicroStrategy dumps. Nobody knew what was happening, myself included. And then Crypto Man Ran Nooner dropped the bomb. He says markets were crashing, and I think I talked about this specific post. Or maybe I just saw references to it in the past. I don't remember if I covered this exact post, but they talked about... No, I talked about something similar about this, I think. The fact that October 10 crash was caused because there was, you know, these other exchanges, MSCI, questioning companies that hold crypto assets such as their core business should be considered as companies or funds. No, I don't think I talked about this post then. Okay. So it was tied to potential MicroStrategy delisting from MSCI and NASDAQ. That is when crypto Twitter woke up. More info started leaking fast. JP Morgan's sudden bearish MicroStrategy report seemed like a direct attack assigned to create pressure to push strategy out of the NASDAQ and the MSCI indices. Keep in mind as well, and I've talked about it before, that they haven't joined the S&P 500. That was also a big fail. They added more fuel. JP Morgan unnecessarily hiked MicroStrategy's margin requirements across the entire firm. Interesting. So if you're investing through JP Morgan, you want to buy MicroStrategy stock, the margin requirements were a lot higher. In his view, that single move triggers chaos, spikes the volume, nukes the price, and liquidates traders across the board. Crazy. This is like an actual direct attack. A few hours later, an article was released connecting even more dots, JP Morgan's history, the timing of the attack, and the possible role of the Trump administration. It blew up. Then a new video of Eric Trump started circulating, claiming that JP Morgan had undermined his family and their businesses. That is true. We have talked about this. I don't think this is a new one, or maybe it is, but I know that Eric Trump has talked about this specifically before. The fact that he was debanked and everything, and that's why he is now pro-crypto. And it was huge drama when World Liberty Finance, froze assets that belonged to Justin's son because he was selling them. Even though he's allowed to, he's an investor in the company. Except that they just didn't like that because he had a lot. And it was going to cause a lot of sell pressure. So they froze his assets. And then people were like, oh, so much for decentralization, huh? He's like, no, guys, relax. We're doing it to protect your funds, right? You don't want World Liberty Finance to crash. Anyways, Michael Saylor stepped in. He defended strategy against MSCI's potential index exclusion and reminded everyone that it's a real software company. MicroStrategy is not a fund with $500 million revenue, and they issue innovative Bitcoin-backed securities. And I talked about this post before. Another bomb came out. Adam B. Liv called for a full boycott of JP Morgan, citing underreported Epstein-linked suspicious transactions prior to 2019. That is another thing that even Trump himself has said. We're going to investigate JP Morgan Chase because they're linked with Jeffrey Epstein. Huge donors to Epstein. It's literally Democrats and banks that Jeffrey Epstein was involved. And if I have to release these files, those are the names that are going to be on those files, not mine. Even Grant Cardone is jumping into this too, saying that he has pulled $20 million from Chase, and he is suing them for credit card malfeasance. He canceled his JP Morgan account and moved the entire thing to Wells Fargo. He also don't use Chase credit card if you're worried about fraud. More to come. So he's got even more. So we even have Grant Cardone on our side. And keep in mind, he did interview Michael Saylor, so I'm sure he is definitely on our side with Bitcoin, with MicroStrategy, that kind of deal. Interesting, man. Max Kaiser entered the chat. I don't know who this guy is. Hinted at potentially massive news that the US government may be preparing to invest in MicroStrategy and Coinbase. That will be a pretty good catalyst to get markets back up. Just look at what happened with Crypto.com, Kronos token. When Trump media stock started investing into Kronos and vice versa, it rallied really hard, and I took advantage of that and I got out, thankfully, because I had so much on spot. I was like, dude, I'm trapped. Can't get out of this. But that was my exit liquidity. So thank you, Trump. Trump provides, Trump takes away. I ultimately ended up losing more than what I've made, but it's fine, dude. We can make it back. Unconfirmed, but explosive. JP Morgan may be holding a massive short position in MicroStrategy. I think it is practically known by now. GameStop vibes will intensify from this. Oh, dude, do you guys know what this is from? Yeah, even my own post calling for a GameStop-style moment for Bitcoin and MicroStrategy exploded, passing 120,000 views. It proves that Bitcoiners are starving for a fight against the bankers, and it seems we're ready to use our own stacks if necessary. It's this, basically. This meme, where it's originally a guy just sitting back in his chair and then leaning forward as if he's more serious into whatever game he's playing. Roaring Kitty posted this on his second comeback, right? Meaning that this time, with the second comeback, he's going to be more serious. And he pulled it off. He did the short squeeze again on GameStop the second time. And I've talked about this as well last year, maybe, when this was relevant. But hey, if they do the same thing with MicroStrategy, I mean, imagine if Michael Saylor himself posts this. I know this was posted by the guy that's making the thread, Jack, but dude, this does happen, would be huge. You don't gotta be an expert, just look at the weekly chart to know when these short squeezes happened. May 2024, twice. This is when Andrew Tate and everything got involved. And this is the 2021 one, which was huge. January. Pumping basically from $4, basically a dead company, right? All the way up to $120 at its peak. This is the big middle finger to the institutions, right? It's like, screw your short positions. We're the retail, people are stronger and better than you. And then, you know, after that, we've kind of had our fun. We started decaying again, stabilized a bit, and then Roaring Kitty posts the thing, which sparked another, you know, more speculation that he's back. This happened May last year. And then it actually happened. They did it again. They pumped it from, what was it, average at $15, let's just say, to almost $65 on that second attempt last year. So that would be pretty cool. We'll see if it happens. But, I mean, MicroStrategy also has some problems of its own. The $48 billion math error. We know that they hold 650,000 Bitcoins. I think I've talked about something too similar to this. What? It's false. The main takeaway from this is that the net asset value, I think that's what this means, collapsed from 2.0x to 1.0x. So the fact that MicroStrategy would move 2 times the volatility of Bitcoin or it started off with around 3 times. That's why we had huge explosive growths at the beginning. It's now kind of evened out to the point where it's like 1-to-1, almost 1-to-1 with Bitcoin's price movement. And that at that point, it's like, why even hold MicroStrategy if it doesn't even multiply the volatility of Bitcoin anymore? It doesn't have that charm to it. You might as well just buy a Bitcoin ETF or just buy Bitcoin, right? And that is part of the reason why they're getting taken out of the indices, because they're like, at this point, you're moving 1-to-1 with Bitcoin. Get out. You're basically a Bitcoin ETF company. And they're like, no, we're a software company, I promise. So the deadline, January 15, they're getting kicked out. Strategy is 77% Bitcoin. And they say that companies that have 50% or more with digital assets, you're getting kicked out of the indices. Okay. It could total up to $8.8 billion in total outflows. And of course, this is taking immediate effect. We're not waiting for January 15 to sell off. If you know that this stock, this MicroStrategy stock, will lose $8 billion, you're going to sell right now. You're not going to wait until January 15, right? Okay. But, you know, Strategy themselves, Michael Saylor claims like, hey, even if we can't pay back the debts, we have 71 years to worry about it, or whatever the number was. So he's like, dude, we're fine. Don't worry about it, guys. I don't know. That was one of the things that I was saying, like, that could cause a bear market. It's either, you know, when it comes to people selling specifically, it's either Satoshi wakes up, starts selling, or it's MicroStrategy or BlackRock, because BlackRock also has so much at this point that if they just start doing constant outflows, it's over, dude. We can't compete against that. So yeah, they would definitely push the price lower. Remember when Germany had 50,000 Bitcoins and they were all just perpetually dumping it on spot for like, I don't remember how many weeks, but it caused so much downward pressure that we actually hit like, we went from 66,000 Bitcoin to like 48,000. This happened last year. German government started selling Bitcoin. And that was only 50,000 Bitcoin, okay? MicroStrategy has 650,000. US government has 330,000. BlackRock has, I think, over 500,000. They surely have like 600,000, maybe. I could check, right? No, this is the amount of money that they've been buying. Yeah, it doesn't tell me. How much Bitcoin does BlackRock have? 800,000 Bitcoins. Wow, that's almost 1 million, dude. Satoshi has 1 million. Crazy. So yeah, like, what are we gonna do against that? There's not much you can do. It's basically the equivalent of Satoshi selling if BlackRock starts selling. That is why it's like a double-edged sword here. Yeah, it's nice. When BlackRock, the biggest asset management company, is buying Bitcoin, dude, it's great. Everything is rising. Bitcoin prices are skyrocketing because there's just so much volume. This is the good thing that ETFs bring, is the volume from Wall Street investors, because they've got the billions. We retail investors don't have any money. We work at McDonald's. And then what if the opposite happens? Which it has been happening, by the way. Lots of outflows from BlackRock. Not just BlackRock, but other ETFs as well. Fidelity, Bitwise, ARK, etc. Once they all like decide, hey, now's the time to sell, you're done. You can't do anything about it. And one thing you're going to notice here is that, well, BlackRock doesn't have an XRP or a Solana ETF here, but they do have Bitcoin and Ethereum. You'll notice the flows for Bitcoin and Ethereum have been outflows, right? When it comes to the money here, especially on Ethereum, it's just constant outflows. They usually post their how much they've bought or sold by midnight, so we have to wait for those numbers. It's still 10 p.m. But when we go to Solana, we only have Bitwise, VanEck, Fidelity, 21 shares, and Grayscale. They've all been buying. No outflows on Solana ETF. And, well, Farside UK decided not to show XRP ETF because they couldn't care less about it. Fair enough. fair judgment, but also inconvenient for me and you guys, the viewers. But from what I've heard, XRP ETFs are also generating some pretty decent inflows, which is part of the reason why Bitcoin dominance, I'm assuming, I haven't really looked at it recently, but I'm assuming it is still on its way down. It is indeed on its way down. Altcoins are outpacing Bitcoin right now. When the whole market is in the red, usually Bitcoin dominance should spike up, because when everything is crashing, you're like, dude, screw these altcoins, they're all trash. Bitcoin's the only one that matters the most. So I'm just going to buy Bitcoin and hold on to it. But now we're not seeing that. Now we're seeing that, okay, we see what's going on with Bitcoin. I see what BlackRock's doing over here. All this red numbers. I see what you're doing. What? You don't have a Solana ETF? Solana's in the green. I can't say the same for the rest of these other coins, but you get the point, right? Yeah, a lot of the altcoins are really oversold too right now because of what happened October 10th. So it's not like we had a decent recovery since then. So we're still kind of stuck there at the bottom. But I mean, we're not dropping any further than that. We kind of found our floor, so to speak, for a lot of altcoins. Ethereum, I couldn't really say the same about. It's kind of having the same kind of movements as Bitcoin because of these outflows that we have been getting. Today should be hopefully a bit of a green day. But yeah, that's just one thing I wanted to point out. All right, moving on. I'm spending too much time on this. On the contrary, like, this is the two-sided nature of JP Morgan. So those guys, BlackRock, HSBC, they say tokenized, yield-bearing, real-world assets have more long-term potential than stablecoins, calling RWAs the next evolution of global finance. I thought they were pro-stablecoins at one point. Okay, whatever. Still, RWA, good, that's fine. They basically want to tokenize stocks or commodities or whatever it is that they want to do. Yeah. A JavaScript attack, love it. Over 400 NPM packages, including the ENS and crypto libraries, were hit by a worm-style attack, stealing dev credentials and wallet keys. So watch out, there's another hack going on. Don't update your JavaScript, or maybe do update if there's a patch. I don't know. If you're a crypto developer, there's that. In other news, ETFs. We have 5 crypto ETFs launching in the next 6 days. Today, 3 of them were launched. Grayscale XRP, Grayscale Dogecoin, which I've talked about, the GDOG, I love that ticker. It's generally the best ticker, GDOG. Come on, dude. Franklin Templeton's XRP ETF also came out with ticker XRPZ. Grayscale's XRP ETF was GXRP, by the way, the ticker. Bitwise Dogecoin ETF is coming out in 2 days, November 26, under the ticker BWOW. So Bitwise, WOW, because WOW is part of the Doge meme. I don't know if you guys know. Well, it's like the Doge picture with random text around it. Some of it be like, wow. I don't know. It's so long ago, I don't remember. And then December. Is this December 2? Is that this week? 6 days. That is not in 6 days. That is in 8 days, my friend. But anyway. Grayscale Chainlink ETF. I think that's the first Chainlink ETF we're getting. That's coming out on December 2nd. We also expect to see over 100 new crypto ETFs go live within the next 6 months. I mean, I don't understand how... Okay, I could understand how we could be in a bear market, because if the demand is not there, who's going to be buying this? But we're facilitating the demand to exist. I know we're bringing in the Wall Street, we're going to become the Wall Street. The more of these macroeconomic factors are going to affect these altcoins now, probably more than, you know, any governance votes that they hold or anything that happens within the altcoin ecosystem. A lot of it is just going to be United States data, because we're getting a lot of ETFs in it, and we're getting a lot of Wall Street investors in these, you know, giving them exposition into the altcoins, or precious altcoins that were meant to be decentralized. But yeah. So there's that. That is happening. Tomorrow, Kraken will reveal their MasterCard debit card tomorrow. So stay tuned for that if you care, if you use Kraken. I don't know to whom it's rolling out. We're probably going to get more details on it tomorrow. I won't be able to cover it tomorrow. I won't be streaming, but after that, if I do find any news, I'll share it. Eric Trump also gives a tour of his Bitcoin mining facility, the American Bitcoin Company, ABTC. He claims that it mines about 2% of the total Bitcoin supply globally. Wow, big if true. Interesting. And come on, this guy's mining a lot of Bitcoins. You don't think he's going to want the price to go up? He's going to say, hey, Dad, put a tweet out about Bitcoin or something. I need to make some money. And his dad would be like, okay. He's going to put on Truth Social, I love the Bitcoin. And then it's going to pump the price. Will it even do that anymore? It feels like anything that happens with Bitcoin, talked about with the United States government, it doesn't seem to have that much of an impact on the price anymore. Like back in the good old days, Elon Musk would post something on Twitter about Bitcoin and it would skyrocket because Elon Musk tweeted one word about it. And then now it's Trump is always saying like, oh yeah, I like Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is great. He even puts up a Bitcoin statue. He makes a strategic reserve. No, we start crashing. So what do you guys want anymore? It's exit liquidity. Sell the news. That's kind of what's going on. Sentiment is shifting again. Remember the AI bubble stuff? Well, they're now beginning to wonder if AI is indeed the next big thing again. As a result, many of the large AI names are up 5% or more today. I saw it. The cycle of AI bubble to AI is the next big thing. It's happening even more frequently now at an even faster pace. You know, the whole, it's so over, we're so back. It's so over, we're so back. No, it's happening more frequently. As sentiment swings, so does investor capital, and so do AI stocks. Utilize periods of sentiment polarity to your advantage, not financial advice. Objective investors will win the most in this market. And my last bit of news, Google is climbing after securing a major NATO cloud and AI deal that leverages its custom TPU chips, according to bullish news, including Berkshire's huge new stake, strong earnings, and growing AI momentum. Google is doing really well. Stock is about 5% up, pushing Alphabet toward a fresh 52-week high and roughly a $3.8 trillion market value. Wow, that is really high. Interesting. Good for Google. About time. Do I have Google? I don't think I do. I used to. No, I don't have it right now. But yeah, 6% up today. Not too bad. Awesome. That is all for today, guys. The end of the day, we ended up not moving too much. 87,680 price of Bitcoin. Still in its downtrend. We got to break 92,000 to flip the trend around. I don't expect it to. We're going to have to wait and see. So stay tuned for tomorrow's news as well. Well, not with me. I won't be live. But yeah, PPI data will be important to keep your eyes on. And we'll discuss anything else that happens by Wednesday. Okay, thanks so much for watching. Really close to 500 subscribers. So get it up, guys. Thanks so much. And I'll see you on Wednesday. Have a great rest of your evening. Bye.